Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew listening in out there wherever you are. Make sure wherever you are and you're listening, like, subscribe. If you want to go to Spotify, if you want to go to Apple, if you want to go to YouTube, if you want to go to Facebook, if you want to go to LinkedIn, if you want to go wherever, you can find Hawaii Boss. Listen, so don't give me any excuses about why you're not watching Hawaii Boss, okay? So, listen, I want to introduce someone to you. Her name is Danielle Irwin, and she is the founder, currently running the Makaha Learning Center. And their mission is a 501c3, and they started in Makaha Valley almost a decade ago, but their mission really got focused in the last 3 years as Ms. Irwin has had a chance to get involved, and they've created some classroom and learning space, and their major focus is the three core passions: Native Hawaiians, the Waianae Coast community, and perpetuating the trades. And so we are very excited and to talk about, we've had her on before, so we love her. Danielle Irwin is here to speak with us. Danielle, aloha.
Thank you. It's so much fun being here with you, and it was a blast last time, so I'm looking forward to what unfolds.
Well, you're very generous, Danielle. So again, Danielle Irwin is trying to make a difference. We're talking about the West Side. It seems like we're doing a lot of things on the West Side over here, but we love Makaha, and we love the special flair that is Makaha, and it's got its own special character and feel, and we're going to talk about that. So again, for those people who don't know, let's talk a little bit about the Makaha Learning Center and how that came about.
Sure. So the Makaha Learning Center, it's a Native Hawaiian organization. We are out on the West Side. We serve Native Hawaiians as well as the leeward Waianae Coast community. Mm-hmm. We focus primarily on trade education. So just really finding those opportunities, plugging our at-risk youth into, pathways that are going to create a sustainable lifestyle for them. So that's been our mission and our focus for the last 3 years. We have been around.
So let me stop because it's all we got lots of time to talk about all of it. But trades. Mm-hmm. So just so people know, when they say Makaha Learning Center and you say trades, not everybody gets it, But what are some of the primary pathways, as you called it, that you've developed?
So what we're focused on right now is everything, the core foundation. So getting those skills, the foundational skills that will put you on a trajectory to be able to jump into any other craft skill, whether that's electrical, plumbing, HVAC, etc. In addition to that, we really have a heavy focus in renewable energy. We see that as a path forward. There's a lot of renewable energy mandates that are coming out and lofty goals. And so we want to make sure that as all of that construction is taking place, that our students and the people that we serve are able to get a piece of that pie.
Right, because, it's a challenge. Sometimes they don't get a piece of that pie because the people who know how to do these trades aren't from here. Mm-hmm. We ship them in from California or wherever. There's actually companies that do that. They're traveling tradesmen and women.
You hit it right on the head. And that's the thing, is that, every time that there's an opportunity, there's obviously a timeline. And in that timeline, there's not 1 or 2 or 3 years to get people here the training that they need to be able to work on those projects. So unfortunately, the opportunities pass by. And so that's what we're really trying to do, is get people workforce ready and project ready, so that when those opportunities come, then local people are competitive.
Right. And then they don't have to, also the training is available here, so they don't have to go somewhere else to get the training. And usually if they leave Hawaii to go get the training, coming back sometimes is difficult because they really siphon them off as soon as they're there at the end of the graduation and saying, hey, here's your job and where do you want to live, that kind of thing. So but they aren't necessarily connected in Hawaii, and so trying to create that sort of resource for the folks here.
Yeah, and it's people that were born here, they typically want to stay here. And it's just really the cost of living that drives them out. So being able to create opportunities where they can actually make enough money to stay in Hawaii and call it home, you know, not just for themselves, but for their kids and for future generations, you know, that is the goal. So yeah, labor of love.
Well, it's a lofty goal. I think what in your as folks go to the Makaha Learning Center, there's, you know, the website there, and tell everybody what it is so they can go there.
Sure. So it's www.makahalearning.org. We actually have a couple of programs that are going to be coming up here in early 2022, and we will be opening applications at the end, near the second half of December.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. Some of those, like, you know, the applications for some of these trades, because you're starting to welcome some of these folks in, and so we'll look at that process. But as you've initiated this and started this, what are some of the challenges? It's a not-for-profit, right? It's a you know, some people don't know if there's a lot of folks out there listening going like, okay, I want to start a business. You've started a business. This is less than a year and a half old, I think, maybe 2 years. You're the Makaha Learning Center.
So it's actually been around, gosh, almost for a decade now. But we.
Oh gosh, I'm out of.
No.
Here. Yeah.
But it was very inactive. It had a cultural focus, and I would say for the last 3 years is when we really started to shift the mission and think about how can we actually make a difference. So really, not many people heard about the Makaha Learning Center at all, and it's now right about this point, you know, as you know, we start having conversations with people like you, and the programs are up and running, that people are starting to recognize, you know, the work that we're doing. So
sure, I imagine that it's for the folks, you know, what's your target audience for the folks that you want to come in, and what's the application process? Because, you know, sometimes there's always a worry about, you know, rolling out a program and then having the people that you've initiated with it, maybe they're not successful in the program. You know, you're worried about retention and all these different things if you start, you know, this learning project, because you know, there's people you have to be accountable for what you're doing, and you have to have results, you know, at the end of the day. Yeah. So, but you're charging ahead, and so when these classes are coming up, what are you said the next couple of opportunities? Talk about those that are coming up.
Sure. So the next in-house classes that we're going to have are actually going to start toward the end of February.
Okay.
Those classes, there's 3 different classes that are built into session. The first one starts with the core concepts. Okay, so that's 60 hours. And that's going to get you, I think we talked about it the last time, the 8 foundational skills, which is, you know, safety, math, drawings, hand tools, power tools, material handling, communication, and employability. From that, we build on another 40 hours, which is intro to photovoltaics. That's going to get them, you know, all of the basics that they'll need to know to be able to enter into a career in the solar industry. From that point, if they really want to get specialized in installation, then we tack on another course that tackles specifically the installation, the site survey, the maintenance aspect. So it's really something that's prepared not to just get a student's foot wet, but to really position them to be very competitive in the marketplace.
Right, have a real set of skills, and that they're actually functional in that. Not that they've read a book or that they had a little, you know, course, but that they're functional in it, and they have a certain level of competence.
Exactly. You know, we're really fortunate. We do have a number of private classes that we're running as well. Some of the details are still being set in stone, but, you know, working with Hawaiian High School, they just reached out for their alternative learning center. They want to send 15 students through the core competencies, and then also with CNHA, which is the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. They would like us to run another solar class for them as well. And
no, let's slow that down. Slow that down. That sounds like 2 brand new engagements where people are really seriously needing this, what you're providing.
And
now it seems like what you're doing, and just as you went through sort of the core curriculum, it sounds like remember we used to have shop class, you know, and that there were, you
Back in
know,
the day.
yeah, and people took it, and then they were, you know, they were able to. No, I'm not going to go to college. I'm yeah, kind of trained up already in high school, and I just need to go join the local union, and I can start, you know, making some money. But that pathway sort of dissolved somehow
Yeah.
from. So I mean, this is sort of a bit of a rejuvenation. So people are starting to see the value. So how? Let's talk about each one. First, the school. How did they
Mhm.
reach out to you? What was their what you know? How did they present their need to you?
You know what? It's interesting because we have been diligent in the work that we've been doing, how our reputation, I guess people are talking about the Makaha Learning Center. And so we've had, the Waianae High School has been a community partner for us. We've, you know, taken part in their career development and, really have kind of engaged the high schools. And so where there was a situation previously where it was like, we're having these classes and we're inviting your students to join us, fully funded classes. Now they've actually gone and have got their own grant funding that they want to use for us to teach their classes,
Well, that's
for their students.
yeah, that's amazing. Well, they don't have the infrastructure to do it in the schools anymore.
Nope,
They
they
don't
don't.
have the tools to do it. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the shop teacher anymore that
Mhm.
that knows how to do all this stuff, and they can barely find IT people. But that's another group of training probably that folks need to out there in those school systems. But so yeah, that's well, congratulations. I think it sounds like that's gonna and it's an immediate sort of a need. It sounds like.
Mhm. They want to start January 3rd or 4th or
Uh-huh.
whatever that first Monday is.
Right. Yeah.
Break.
It can't do it soon enough, right? They want to
Yeah.
get their yeah.
Yeah.
So they can use this and then use that with some of their other augmented training that they need, and these folks can get a diploma plus then also have a trade skill set and come out being able to work and not necessarily going to have to go wash dishes in downtown Waikiki, to make some money. They can go work out where they live too.
Yeah, one of the most important things, as they're transitioning is for them to understand where they need to plant that first step, because that's where people can kind of get lost
Hmm.
in life, in time, and before they know it, a few years has passed and life has happened. So just being able to engage them at the tail end of high school really makes a big difference in their trajectory.
Yeah, and like I said, I still think there should be, they have all these other pathways in high school. That there should be a trades pathway for sure. It makes utter and complete sense. But who am I?
You know what? I think that a lot of people are of that same camp, and they're starting to realize
Hmm.
that, for the last 2 or 3 generations, a lot of students have been left behind as we've been pushing traditional four-year college, and
Right.
so now that we've completely depleted our skilled trades people,
Hmm.
people are realizing that we need to start backfilling and quickly.
Right. And so then that leads to the next one. Sounds like you're doing with the council. Tell me what the other engagement. So you've got this. Now you're starting a program with the school. Now this other group that you're starting a relationship with.
Yeah, we've actually worked with them in the past,
Hmm.
just kind of right in the middle of COVID. They're the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, and they really do also have, we have a lot of synergy with them. They also see that, solar and PV really is the way of the future, and
Hmm.
that they want to be able to capture those opportunities for Native Hawaiians as well. And so they would like to run another iteration of their solar class that we did the last time. We actually worked with Solar Energy International's curriculum for
Hmm.
that. And it's really, really phenomenal, just very broad stroke, yet in depth. So it just
Hmm.
gives a really well-rounded sort of education into when you want to get into that space. So yeah, it was really exciting to get the call back. Everyone's a little bit tight on resources, as we're
Right.
coming out of this COVID season. So just being able to
So let's
build
talk.
those
Let's slow it down.
partnerships.
Let talk. Yeah, it's synergy, but you say the call back. There, we skipped like a whole process there. So it sounds like they offer these types of resources, but it's competitive. It's not just you just walk up and you say, "Hey, I want this." They offer. Was it a grant or something like that you applied for?
So what happens with the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, they really kind of are like an octopus, and they offer so many different services. to Native Hawaiians, but they do have what they call the Hawaiian Trades Academy. And
Mm-hmm.
within the Hawaiian Trades Academy, they offer, things like the Fire Training Academy for students to study for the fire exam, the entrance
Mm-hmm.
exam, or for the police academy.
Mm-hmm.
They have um, gosh, I think they might have an entry level carpentry program or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2020, they came to us and asked us to build a solar training program, which
Okay.
is what we did. Um, and so, yeah, so we had one iteration of the class back in late 2020,
Uh-huh.
and now we are looking at round two.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing partnership, and I think that's something that we're gonna have. I think all of us, as I have these discussions, each week with different folks, I think that's really the thing that kind of stands out is that, there's a few walls that still need to come down, and a little bit more communication that needs to happen so that we can, share some mutual. I think a lot of us have the same mutual values, but the goals, somehow we get a little sidetracked, or everybody's got different opinions on this and that, but just having the conversation, begin to have the conversation. How do we partner? Maybe there's other partners out there. How do we make this, if we want this really to happen, so
Yeah.
so you have to self advocate. How do you get people aware?
You know, that's a really tough one for us.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working with a small organization and you're trying to always figure out, how far can I stretch this penny or this dime or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. Um, a lot of times your marketing and efforts like that go to the wayside,
Mm-hmm.
and you slowly build up credibility and reputation as you do more and time goes by.
Mm-hmm.
But, I wanted to share with you, it's so incredible because from the last time, or from the time that I actually got to chat with you
Sure.
a few months ago,
Mm-hmm.
an organization called the Makua Group was in the process of looking for a nonprofit that they could partner with. They have a similar mission where they provide support to disadvantaged Native Hawaiians. And
Okay.
so they do a lot of federal work. They have a number of companies that specialize in construction for the federal government, so on
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. So they had some money that they wanted to spend to fulfill their mission,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to really find an organization that had deep community roots and that was able to deploy resources in a way that was meaningful and trackable.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had heard about the Makaha Learning Center through the grapevine, and they actually came across the Hawaii Bosses interview that we had. And I tell you that did so much in terms of communicating really what the heart and the mission is of the Learning Center. And it
Mm-hmm.
just gave them so much confidence for them to
Mm-hmm.
say, you guys got it. You
Mm-hmm.
guys have what, the heart, the location, the mission, everything aligns.
Right.
So there's no way that I would be able to articulate that to every
Mm-hmm.
person that might be able to share an opportunity, but just was such a blessing to be able to have
Mm-hmm.
this resource out there where, I was just kind of able to, in conversation with you, tell our story,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's great. That's great to hear. I think that's really the intent of this, so that we can escalate, elevate the conversation to a point where we find the people who are, that share the same values and mission and vision, and then we can kind of hooey together and kind of figure it out, and everyone can kind of catch on, over time.
Yeah,
But it takes time.
it takes time.
It takes time and a lot of patience, and still you got to hit the ground. So people are out there trying to figure out if they're going to start a business or not too, and so this not for profit method is one way, to help fulfill your vision. Is it a difficult process to start and become a not for profit? Did you do that all on your own, or did you find some assistance for that? How does that work for folks?
Yeah, so most times you have to actually start the business and apply. You have to have some activity, some some books that have been showing, maybe the last year and a half of activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take that set and you actually would apply to become a nonprofit. And then there's a review process that goes on. And then at a certain point, the IRS will then grant you your authorization
Right.
to become a 501c3. And
Okay.
there is a process to that, but it's not any, there's lots of resources out there that can help you, even stuff that, Google is my best friend a lot of
Right.
times.
Uh-huh. Yeah. How do I start a 501c3?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But having some guidance along the way is definitely really helpful. Just in terms of not wasting time.
Right. That's the biggest thing. I think people are smart enough to kind of get it. If they want to start a business, they kind of know, but they don't. There's like kind of steps, and then, it takes time, and you have to have time and focus on it.
Just like, yeah, exactly. Whether you're trying to start a not-for-profit or you're starting, your own, you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a for-profit business, an LLC or a corporation, whatever it is, there's always going to be a learning curve and things that you're just going to have to learn along the way.
Right.
So I would say whatever path you're taking, the secret sauce is passion.
Right.
Because there's going to be frustration and lack of resources.
Yeah, it's not money, right? It's not, you're not in it for the money. You have to have it. It has to mean something deeply, or else you're not going to be willing to spend the time on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So yeah, find your passion. You're going to really go after something like that and say, I'm going to start this business, not because I think it's cool and I can, but you really have to believe in what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So as we go to your website, that's we can kind of see how you're, how it's set up and talks about your vision. Most companies have this vision, and we've talked about it. Sounds like those folks, caught the vision that you were able to share. But bottom line for you, what do you want to see come out of all the work that you're doing, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years?
Gosh, I really believe that when you change one person, you change everybody in their legacy. And it's a generational change. So even beyond 5 years or 10 years. But I think that within the next 5 to 10 years, that we could create a very credible and very viable alternative pathway for the kids out on this side,
right.
where some of that mentality changes, where it's not just go this way or, be forever in a low paying,
right.
go nowhere job, whatever, like sometimes that's the way that they think, right?
Right.
They're just to let them know that there are pathways that really can, that can engage them and interest them, that they could be good with, they can work with their hands, things like that. So I think changing that narrative and, where when I was growing up, it was the expectation was you are going to go to college, right? And I did.
Right.
Luckily, I'm a college person.
Right.
For these kids, it's you are going to graduate and go to college or become a carpenter or become an electrician or a beautician or whatever it is, that these become real realities for them. They can be excited about it.
Yeah, that we celebrate these trades too. I mean, again, without these builders and fixers and makers, it's not going to be, we can't, just do it. Anyway, we need all these resources, and it's smart of us to keep considering that. Now, your goal is you've got a twofold sort of thing that you're trying to I guess deal with through your mission and through this. And let's talk about those. What are those two things?
Well, number one, we have and we've talked about this, just a completely depleted pool of trade resources, trade human resources, I guess, of tradespeople. And so just really trying to build up our capacity there so that we can keep opportunities here in the islands. The other thing is, I grew up on the West Side. I know firsthand just the generational poverty that exists here. And all the things that come with it, the hunger, the drug abuse, all of that stuff. And so
let's talk about that. Maybe people don't understand when you say generational poverty, how does that, what does that mean?
It's like my mom never graduated high school and was on food stamps, and that's what's going to be for me. And I'm going to, my sister had a baby in high school. So, where it's just kind of the bar is here.
Because, and it's really not, they're not broken. It's not, they're not, they're still have so much to give, but they just haven't seen what their value is themselves. And I think it happens to all of us at some time. Maybe we don't see what our complete capacity is. Sometimes there's someone who wakes us up to that. So how it sounds like you have some ways that you're working on through this process. So how do you, what is, I guess part of your education is to really get at that. And so is it a more tell us about that curriculum a little bit.
So it's all about aloha. And my mentor, Pono Shim, taught me aloha the way he learned it from Auntie Pilahi Paki. And so everybody that comes through our programs is actually introduced to this study. And it's a lot of self-work, a lot of personal development, a lot of conversation and reflection about who they are, what their value is, what type of mark or difference they want to make in the world. And so really, by the time that they're graduating with a national certification in construction, they're also coming out with this very different awareness,
right?
You know, where they're feeling powerful. They're understanding, you know, who they are, if they're a Native Hawaiian, for instance, who they are as a people, what that mindset was, and also anybody who's just, if you're not Native Hawaiian, you're local Hawaiian, you know what I mean? And you grew up here, and if you live here, you got that Aloha spirit. And I mean, really, everyone has the Aloha spirit. Sometimes it just needs to be awakened, right?
Right.
So I think that work is just as important, because it's kind of like that fire pyramid. You know, you need heat, you need fuel, and you need oxygen, right? And the aloha, or the, you know, the ha, it's really that what fans that the fire, the air.
That's sort of the catalyst. That's the brings it all together.
Exactly.
Yeah, and again, I think we talked about it. That it feels like it's this isn't a new the teaching and method of teaching aloha is not, you know, it's not just found somebody figured this out in a book. This is a passed down from generation to generation, and there's specifics, just like the Ho'oponopono. You know, I think that's part of that's probably the curriculum for the young men and women who went into that you know, situation. For it's sort of a bit, we call it reform, but then we have a bad feel about it. But it's more like, you know, returning home, I guess.
You're absolutely right. And you know what happened, you know, aloha was really just something that people knew. It was a spirit, something they felt, but it was really hard for them to articulate.
Right.
So when Pilahi Paki actually defined the 5 tenets of aloha, people were in tears, because for the first time they heard in words what they felt inside.
Right.
You know, and so that, like you said, it's like an awakening, or like almost like a reform. And you know, but none of that ickiness. It's just how a way that we can now define and share, right?
Right. We see ourselves differently, and that we see ourselves as okay, you know, rather than, you know, broken. That, you know, there is another way. There's not a this way. I know it doesn't feel right, because if I only have these, you know, I've got 2 or 3 choices and none of them look good, but this is all I have. But then finding one day as they're sitting in a classroom, or, you know, working with a mentor, that no, there's this other path, or 3 or 4 or 5. You can choose. You know,
and what I have is important. You know, what I have, people are interested in, and they believe. And
So that is, it's so when you say multi-generational poverty, it's really a multi-generational mindset that says, you know, I'm not able to move past this is the line, but not knowing that there's this other thing out there. Well, you know, I'm kind of the same way. My parents they graduated, you know, they were bakers, sort of blue collar, and they went to high school, and that was sort of the expectation, you know, graduate high school and make sure you don't have any babies before. That was kind of, you know, that's kind of the, you know, that's not the highest bar ever, but you know, that's kind of the thing, is like, you know, hey, you know, it's trouble if you have a baby right now, but you know, just make sure you graduate high school. So I got out of there by the skin of my teeth, but anyway, yeah. So, you know, so you don't know, and then as I went in the Army and had some different experiences, I saw, oh, there's different, you know, opportunities and different things that can be done out there. And I think I realized too, when as you know, these people who are thinking about maybe going into a program like yours, or, you know, maybe it's a brave step for them. You know, what would you tell them as they're trying to maybe make this next step, but there's maybe some of this pull of the old way, or no, I'm not going to be able to make that happen. You know, I'm same old stuff. So what do you say to them thinking about it?
Do it. Try it. why not? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be your biggest cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you let us know what will help you figure out what you want your life to look like and how to get there. You know, it's never too late to be better or to do something different.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, some
I,
people, and that's an important point. Some people are like, "Hey, this is the way I am. I'm not changing. I can't change. So this is it." But we can change. We can adapt. We can become different by learning, by trying new things,
mhm.
and different experiences. And so, gosh, this is Makaha Learning Center sounds like it's and all the things that are happening. It sounds like you're going to be busy here pretty quick.
Oh my gosh, I tell you, we are going to be very busy. And, we were recently just blessed with an aquaponics system. It's something that we had been wanting to do for a long time. We're
Okay.
all into sustainability.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how I'm going to take care of these fish and these plants amongst all
You got the whole system with the tilapia and everything?
the tilapia, catfish. We got all these seedlings coming up, and the idea is that we're going to be able to bless our students to bring home good, organic,
Right.
growing from seed produce to their families that are going to help them, also nourish their bodies
Right.
physically, right? So
And they can learn how to do it themselves as well. Learn that technology.
yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm hoping that that we catch on and learn everything before all the fish die and we have to start again. But
That's Well, I heard the tilapia and the cat, they're pretty sturdy fish, so.
and you know what? When they come straight out of the very clean fresh water, they're pretty darn tasty, I tell you. They're
Yeah.
not, yeah.
People have different opinions about tilapia and swai and all this different stuff, but
Yeah.
hey, it's a good white fish and usually clean. So, but hey, if you don't, if the barges stop coming, that's the other thing. These resources. I'm not saying that we need to, go build a bunker and go live in it, but I'm just saying, there's some things that we need to be able to understand, and the resources that we need to provide for ourselves. There's this beautiful in my background here. You see this beautiful Hawaii, but we couldn't grow enough food for 10% of the people that live on Oahu here.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and those are the types of skills and resources that you take and you put in your pocket. You put it in your
Right.
backpack, right? And you save it for when you need it.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing with, not everybody that goes through our core class is going to come out of it knowing that construction is for them.
Mhm.
But I tell you, boy, is it good to have those skills because you're going to need them every day. In your home, you want to hang some curtains, you want to change your floor, whatever it is.
Gonna fix the toilet.
Fix the toilet, yeah.
That's right. You got to know how to work a wrench a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Change the oil and all these different things. So it sounds like you've just landed right where the things need to happen. You're sort of in the middle, sort of this sort of potential explosion for this work and potential for all of the folks on that side. But you're not limiting necessarily to West Side. But that's if they're those are the priority folks, Native Hawaiian. And folks from that side, and that makes perfect sense because again, mission and creating and maintaining that culture of aloha, and it's I think you'll continue to be a blessing to many, and I hope we continue to hear great things from you and also from all the folks that are working with you. I'm sure this isn't a all by yourself deal, or maybe it is. Sometimes when you have your own business, it's just you and you.
There are definitely those key players, my aces and my queens and my jacks, and
Mm-hmm.
they all come together and we are able to execute. And yeah, it never seems like there's enough resources, but I can tell you that none of this could happen if it was just me or just
Right.
me and my husband or whatever. So I definitely need to give credit where credit is due, that there's a team, behind this.
Right. Well, I mean, again, it takes a lot of effort and work to create a team like that, to be able to execute, to win, to continue to develop relationships that are meaningful with, the other organizations out there, and I think there's immediate impact, and so we're excited and we're hopeful that you have many more classes in next year, not just February starts, but then maybe we'll just keep rolling for you and stay busy and stay busy. But So hopefully you can come back and keep us informed and so just last parting shot for you. If you got anything you want to say out there about the Learning Center or just in general, let us. The team wants to know.
No, just definitely wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to continue to share. I know that this message is going to reach a lot of people. If anyone wants to get involved, definitely please visit our website. We have the Get Involved form on there, and it's www.makahalearning.org. There's so many ways you can support, whether you're a community member or a business that wants to, make an impact in our young people's lives. So that is it for me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we wish you the best. Until next time, aloha.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.